welcome to episode 81 of the Dragon's Tome. My name is Jack. With me, as always, are my co-hosts, Rob and Pat. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. In this show, if you're new, we go chronologically through all the Dragon magazines, starting at one, and we have reached episode 81. And
80 episodes since the beginning.
yes, that's how that works. And so far, we've kept it nice and tight. So let's make this a good one.
Tweet.
We are looking at a winter theme on a January episode of 1984.
We made it. It's a good year. It's probably the best year.
Good year.
It's the best year for what?
It's the year when Van Halen breaks up, though.
Oh,
The best year.
yeah. I'm not going to shed a tear. So, what do you guys think of the cover?
I dig it, except for the mammoth is very tiny.
It's a baby
He's
mammoth.
just a little guy.
So he's just a woolly.
A woolly. And the crazy beast. He's kind of like a ferret.
I don't know what he is. He's got like a Chinese dragon head with some kind of weird body.
It's true. It's by
like
it's by Steve Peregrine, by the way.
Peregrine. Yes.
Steve Peregrine.
One of the in-house artists in Dragon now. They have in-house artist staff.
In-house. It's a cool scene. It's the quality we expect from Dragon covers now.
Yes.
None of this crap we were getting.
Still good. Other than the mammoth not being mammoth-y, I think it's a good looking cover.
We're not going to size shame around here.
He's got giant tusks at least.
He does.
They're almost poking him in the eye.
But I feel like the man can run faster than a mammoth, size-wise.
Well, I don't think they expected to come across a evil luck dragon.
I mean, if I could, I would say, listen, buddy, just jump off that thing, sacrifice that mammoth, get some space between you and that thing.
But he might have to sleep inside of it.
But this ain't no tauntaun. This is a mammoth.
That's no tauntaun boy.
Well, I think this is just right after Return of the Jedi, too.
See? There's a timely...
83-84 is Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, that was in the Empire. Anyways.
Oh, you're right. Damn it.
Oh, well. Trust what, Jack?
I just have to trust that the speed and stamina of the mammoth has made it worth domesticating it. That he's in a better position to understand the situation.
Maybe he didn't domesticate it. He just jumped on its back.
Yeah, I will play devil's advocate here, though. It does give him the height advantage to be able to smack that thing in the face
with
his
true.
axe.
Yeah,
that is true. Okay, let's get into the
enough about this cover
of this magazine, this here periodical. Who's wearing red? Let's see.
Pat is. He's got Chicago.
Yeah, I suppose so. That is the rule. So, Pat, why don't you start with the first article?
It's all these rules that just keep popping up.
Jack makes up rules.
I don't think I do.
Let's go to page 29.
29.
We're going to talk about
ecologies.
Lizards.
Him and his ecologies.
I love these things. But our good friend Ed goes in depth with this one, even explaining that the basilisk's gaze is a chemical reaction from the radiation of its eyes to the blood of its victims.
Well, that seems overly complicated.
Yeah.
This was going to be one of mine, but for an entirely different reason. So I'll let.
Are you going to bash on Ed Greenwood again, Jack? Are you trying to make sure he's not ever on the podcast?
Yeah. Why do you constantly badger Ed Greenwood? I've been a staunch supporter. Rob,
I love Ed. Hey,
Rob's been indifferent at best, but
fan.
You are brutal.
I love these things.
Funny thing is, he was just recently in Guelph, which at some game store. We could have gone and seen him.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He looks like a wizened old wizard. He's got a big beard.
Yeah, his YouTube channel. I catch some of his videos every once in a while.
Yeah, he does. I think he does a good job in this little article. It's a little excerpt from a tome of a
Tome.
library. So it talks a tome or a tome. It comes out and talks and explains a little bit. He does, like I said, he goes in depth. He talks about the chemical reaction. He covers how they reproduce, and as well as the eyelid physiology that stops them from turning everything into stone. Like it's like a double eyelid thing.
Oh, they can choose to use it.
Yeah, so like they always have one lid closed so it doesn't uh, turn
Zap you.
everything to stone because they got to eat. They can't eat stone.
Maybe they can. They're magic.
So, yeah, but like I said, I mean, Ed does some of the better of these ecologies that are out there. What is your different take on this?
Oh, my only thing is the top of the middle paragraph. It says that the eyes it can see up to 15 man lengths away,
Oh,
and it can also when it's drawn, it can see it can use its powers up to 18 man lengths away. And I just wanted to add that Americans will do anything not to use the metric system.
Why would you say man lengths? That's weird. That's odd.
It's what drew me to. I was like, okay, well, that's I
Joke
know.
is he's Canadian.
Yeah. Here's what it is. I think it is because this is supposed to be an excerpt from a book.
So they can't say
Maybe
feet.
that's how the sage was writing it because he says man lengths and in parentheses that says 9 inches or 9
it's
feet
because
in AD&D scale.
because he can't say feet because there's no feet in Magic Land, I guess. What? There must be a measuring system of some sort. He should have just made up a man length is not a metric
maybe the
system.
Forgotten Realms doesn't use meters either.
My comment was only as a meme, not to get into the.
Now we're mad at you for having it.
Now we're scrutinizing Thul's measuring system based on a king's the barrel a king drinks his meat out of.
I'd be very interested to know if you read any of the novels if they ever mention a measuring system. If they ever say feet.
Oh yeah.
Like any of the books.
I'd have to bust open my campaign setting books.
Yeah, I wonder if they ever in character say feet or inches or some other measuring device.
It does say all the D&D terminology is in the parentheses, so it's
the man lengths.
It is what was written in this tome, but my joke stands.
It stands.
Yeah.
It stands alone.
Rob.
Okay, Rob. You sound very accusatory.
Let's do this. Bring the heat.
All right, we're gonna go to page 5 in the PDF.
Bring the heat, Ricky. What page 5?
Yes, page 5. We're out on a limb. We're out on a limb.
Oot.
There's 2 oot on a limbs here that I'd like to speak of. First one there is which one is it? It's How Do I Get? And it's people are requesting back issues of articles and stuff. And I just want to say thank God for the internet because we can go through all these. We don't have to worry about trying to find back issues or getting them photocopied.
Not in 1984.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, we're in the wonderful world of the internet where we don't have to worry about this crap. But the other point is for psionics. And it's this guy is accusing the author of the psionics. One of the authors of the psionics is accusing the other author of the psionics in the last magazine.
Which one is it? Is it Overpowered?
Overpowered, yep. He accuses them not understanding how psionics work, and it just goes to show that psionics are so muddled that even people who are experts on psionics don't know how they work. So I thought that was funny.
It goes on in Dragon Magazine about psionics for
years.
Yeah, it is.
And I remember playing decades later, and it was still a
muddled
consternation.
Mess.
Like, hey, yeah, I rolled the character and I got psionics. Really, you did?
You have to roll I think you have to roll a 00 or something to get it. It's something really hard.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we had one guy who played. I think we had one time when our GM let him play a psionicist, and it was a little too much.
I know in the second edition, when you get the actual Psionics handbook, you can be a Psionic as a class, and that's
Yes,
different.
and that's what we were playing at the time.
Yeah. That's you don't
And
have to be crazy lucky.
That was my
That's just a class.
biggest exposure to sciences at that point.
Yeah, by then it's kind of fixed because it acts more like magic at that point. But at this point, it's just way overpowered, way convoluted, and let's not get into psionics anymore. I'm sorry I brought it up.
No,
No, because
it's going to come up again. It's going to just keep coming up.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And sometimes they're making good points. Sometimes it's
like a rash.
It is like a rash.
Yes, much like most rashes, it has good points. But for the most part, it is just trying to argue that this thing that's in the ether and why your ideas are better than the other one.
Yeah, whereas none of it's real. It's just a different version of magic. I don't know why they wanted to add psionics into it. I wonder. There must have been a book that came out at the same time that was very popular.
I think it was called Dianetics.
What? Yeah, that was even. I think it was after this even. But yeah, there must have been something that really people were all into psionics for some reason. Like it was in the zeitgeist, as they say.
Yeah, I think we at one point did see something, a book or something where.
Yeah, but that was. I think that might have been later. That might have been jumping on the bandwagon. That book even because that was the last of those articles were about. One of them was in the world of that book, whatever it was. Yeah.
Well, it was an unnecessary addition, and
yeah,
you know. But anyways, my first article. We're gonna just go up to page 4, and we're gonna talk to Mr. Mohan. He's got something to say.
You're doing the editorial, nice.
Yeah, because drawing the line, it's called, and with equal amounts of regret and relief, we've come to an important decision. The adventure in the center of this magazine will be the last winner from the module contest that they held. Okay. Let's see why Mr. Mohan does after looking over the entries in all the unpublished categories, we've come to the conclusion that we can't afford to take the amount of time it would take necessary to develop them into publishable adventures. So these are the winners that they
I don't understand that. I read that too, and I didn't understand that.
He's saying they're not even the winners weren't good enough to be published, which I think I call BS because I read some of the actual modules and they're not that good.
Yeah.
Well, that goes to my next point, which is apparently the ones that were in the modules were heavily worked on. In fact, he says we don't want to try and embarrass anyone, but just to make the modules publishable, we had to.
I mean, so then this is just a slap in the face to whoever turned one in, saying that you guys turned in a bunch of crap, and now we need to fix it.
And we're not doing it, and we're not going to ever publish them again because it's too much effort. Yeah.
And he said, in likelihood,
even though the prize was to be published in Dragon Magazine.
Yes. He said in the future we might hold another contest, but hopefully the quality is, not subpar on that one. But it just seemed very odd. Very.
Mohan is not the most diplomatic of people.
But also, at worst, if you. No one was aware that you were doing editing to these modules, and no one even asked you to. You did a contest to publish written material. You would think that was, other than maybe adding some illustrations and jazzing up maybe a map or something like that.
But I think all those maps and stuff were provided by the people, because he even says at one point,
I mean, you're supposed to
I feel sorry for the people who put so much effort into all these things. And
so, I can't imagine how much real work went in. So my question to you, is this just like, hey, we need the space for something else? B, is it that they just,
Well, I will say, and I don't know if it's in this magazine or one coming up, there is a out on the limb letter that talks about pages.
Yeah, where I think it's a later one, but yeah, they complain that it's there's certain page counts and the paper quality. They were complaining about the paper quality.
Yes,
paper quality. Here's a third option, Jack. Maybe since he's an editor, he's just hyping up what editors do, so he doesn't get fired.
Well, yeah,
they realize, hey, no, editors are super important. We need these. It's like, meanwhile, you don't really need them.
I mean, you can even, there's a devil's advocate side here too, where it's just like, one man's bad or one man's good is another man's horrible too. You know, you don't know how really horrible they
Yeah.
were.
Right. But the winners of the contest, it wasn't. It was if you win, you get your module published. I don't think anyone would have been lashing out in anger if it said,
Wow.
"Hey, this
I'm
is
not
one of
sure
the
about that.
publishings."
There's a lot of people lashing out in anger in this magazine over things that shouldn't be lashed out at, but it's the internet
But
before the
at
internet.
non-professional writers, at a guy who he's a
hell,
chemist in his daytime.
hell, that's what we do, Jack.
That is true. But I would never. I would. A fan supplied
Yeah.
module part
And-
of a contest.
And once again, these modules, it's a good baseline at very least. Even if it's not written well, you can at least adapt it into something that is usable for yourself. That's why I find most things in Dragon Magazine. They're not great, but it gives you ideas for, I can do that then. That, yeah.
Exactly.
My thought was honor your obligations. Take your big boy
But
pants,
that
put
makes
them
me
on.
think that you might be right, that they have ulterior reasons. Otherwise, they would have just published them. Because
Yeah.
it's free content, right?
I mean,
So they
I'll be
must have
honest,
some other
I
reason.
agree with that too. I don't think that there's ulterior reasons. I don't think all of them are all that bad.
And also, I pretty soon coming up, we don't want to spoil anything. There is something coming into Dragon Magazine that takes up a large section that that might be the reason why they're getting rid of the modules. So
true, but also this the next two issues here that I've read so far. There's massive articles that say very little, and I could have gone the rest of my life without even wasting my time skimming. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I agree.
But,
yeah, like if their idea of a good article is some of these articles they post, like some of them are so bad that we make fun of them, but they think those are good. But meanwhile, they're getting rid of all these modules, which at very least you have free maps and stuff. Like
yeah, and like you said, even if it's a seed or a little snippet, you could take it inspiration. They spend a lot of time publishing letters of very complaints and nitpicks and stuff like that, and something like that free resource. But anyways, yes.
Yeah. Well, I've always had an issue with Kim. We miss the old days of Trask, but I mean, Cask, not Trask.
Trask.
The Sentinels.
His Peter Dinklage version of him. We miss him. That's non sequitur. Okay. So that was my first article. Let's go to Patrick. Back to you. What's the deal?
We're going to page 36.
36.
I thought you might choose this one.
Chariots for characters, as we are. I actually enjoyed this article a little bit. It was, I don't think we ever used a lot of chariots in our D&D games and anything else, other than in passing. But I liked it because it included a nice little history on chariots. Some of this stuff I didn't even know.
My favorite part of these articles are the throwbacks to what must have been a time gone by when, they wrote the history of and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like we see less and less of it, but I like these, even if I never put a chariot in a game of mine.
Yes.
If I bought this magazine, had it come to my house, and I was looking for something to read, this entertained me.
Yeah. There's a nice little history, and then it gives you a little how to use them in AD&D. And then it skips back into a little more history on construction and training with weapons and warfare. What guys like to use and things like that. And then it goes back into game modes again, how to in the weapons and training. The minus to hits and what side of the chariot who usually attacks are. Like the driver always used the javelin, so he was always javelin on the side, and then the rider would always use the sword on the right.
And you gave a little templates for the different size of chariots.
Yes, with the depending on the team, horse team.
Yeah, it's like here's where the lance is, here's where the sword is, and here's where the
and then there's the trample area, what I like too.
Yeah, you get run over.
So I thought it was a nice little argument. But probably never use it in my game. But it was again. going back to what we were just talking about, it's a nice little information, something that it can be adaptable should I ever need it.
Yeah, and if it pops up that somebody wants a chariot, you're like, okay, I got some rules for that.
I'm going to put you in there with some Christians.
If you do a little side quest and all of a sudden you find yourself in the Colosseum doing a chariot, a small chariot race or something like that, that's a fun little ad.
Yeah. So that's Chariots for me.
Chariots for me.
Chariots for all of us.
None of them are on fire.
None of them are swinging low either. Rob?
Page 76. 78, actually.
Rob, comedy comes in threes. You can't leave us hanging there.
No, that's even funnier, though, isn't it? That's the comedy right there.
Subversive comedy. You're regular.
I almost did this, but I knew this was off limits. So
I'm glad I got here before Jack stole it out from under me. For once, I get to talk about Call of Cthulhu.
Well,
it's a review of the Shadows of Yog-Sothoth. Global campaign to save mankind. $10 for a global campaign. Don't we wish the days? Now it's like add an extra couple zeros on that.
And this is a Sandy Peterson joint. Like it's
early days.
It's the real deal.
Yeah. So this is a review of it. It's an early Call of Cthulhu supplement. But I love how the review, it's obviously non-linear gameplay. Like Call of Cthulhu is pretty non-linear always. And it's hard for people to wrap their heads around it at this point.
Oh, I actually played this.
I'm sure you did.
Campaign. Well, not, because I didn't read it all the way through because I wanted to leave it for you. But I'm reading it. It kind of gives a little scenario of the difference.
Yeah, all the different ones.
Little synopsis of the little scenarios. And as I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, this is where my friend... I know I mentioned him before. The guy who's incredibly bad luck. The dwarven cleric forgets to heal himself with 1 hit point left, and then drowns because he's in plate mail, doing walk on water, punching all this shit. So this is the guy who played a weapons dealer, and because it's in a jungle setting, he gets 8 phobias. He's afraid of trees, and we're in a jungle. He's afraid of outside, we're in a jungle. He's claustrophobic. He's afraid of guns, and he's a weapons dealer.
Good old classic Call of Cthulhu. It was pretty relentless.
Oh, yeah, it was. That character is pretty much just confined to therapy for the rest of its life.
Yeah. But anyways, as I was saying, non-linear. The GMs at the time had no idea what to do with it, and the idea of it like a sandbox game is like foreign to these people. Like the idea that you can go, you mean I can go anywhere and do anything? And so he says it takes a lot of GM prep to actually play, which is true for all Call of Cthulhu games once again, because it is.
It is. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, Pat knows he's doing one right now. But he does say it's great because it is such a long campaign for such a cheap price, $10. And yeah.
No, it was a good campaign. It's not nearly as long as Oriental Express.
No, that was one of the big ones at the time, later on. But anyways, he enjoyed it. Good old Ken Ralston enjoyed it, and I think it's showing the difference. Call of Cthulhu really was a change in the way role playing games were made. Like not made, but played. Like it was not everything else was kind of a clone of D&D. At this point, I think they're getting to these games that aren't just clones. They're not just another thing slapped on. This is actually a whole other system. This
is where I'm starting to branch out now.
Yeah, and this focuses on, like he says, even it's not shooting things is not going to solve your issue very much. it's you're going to have to deal with like actual mysteries, which
that and sometimes running is the only way to survive.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was very foreign to the thing, but I think that's why Call of Cthulhu, it won like Game of the Year at the time, and it was big because it was such a change. And I don't think we appreciate it now because we're so used to all games being different now, But at the time, this was a difference.
Yeah, and like you said, the players in this are the victims of the horror, not the heroes of the...
They're not solving the issue. They're just dealing with what happened to them.
Yeah, which is a dynamic shift from what, was the norm.
Yeah, even in like, some dungeons, it's all traps and mysteries. It's still not norm to be scared out of it or lose your mind. That's for sure. So there you go. That is the Shadows of Yog-Sothoth.
Nice. Okay, so my last one. Well, I already said that I was going to do the basilisk, so I'm tapped on articles. Anyone have one to make up?
I got
Anyone?
one more.
I got one more
Okay.
also.
Uh-oh. Well, Patrick,
Page
maybe it's the same one, and the two of you can just
7.
double team it. Make an
Page
Eiffel Tower out of this
60.
article.
60. It is not the same one. Oh, I do have something to say about this, but it's a quick hit.
Yeah, this is living in a material world. This is an article about hamadata. This album came out around this time. It's about the new Madonna album. It's
Is that title a? Is it because Madonna just came out? Do you think that song came out?
I would assume so.
Yeah, it does seem like a.
Michael Dobson seems like a Madonna fan to me.
I'm glad he's dead and hasn't lived to see how gross she became.
Ow.
Oh,
She is a bit Skeletor.
we always assume these things, and we're always proven wrong in the comments.
Especially
How
as we're
gross she
getting.
is? No, she's been gross for
No,
20 years.
Michael Dobson being dead.
Oh,
And as we get closer to the current times, Jack, it's less and less likely they're actually dead.
well, until I'm proven wrong.
It's true. The only person we know is not dead is Ed Greenwood. We know he's alive.
No.
Yes.
I knock on wood. He's around for many more years.
Yes, and Ed's going to come on the show one of these days. I know he is.
Not with the way you chirp.
What? I love Ed. So basically, the long and just is basically how to scrounge up spell components if you use them. I personally didn't use them very much.
No.
In thing, but I thought it was a nice little art addition for people who want to do that, and I thought it was a way to actually to use for the more advanced spells and the harder components, not the more first level, second level spells, more like the 6th, 7th level spells. You could probably maybe use this at some point.
I do have an anecdote. I think I did play one campaign where the GM was, or DM at the time, I was very into all this spell component stuff, and I think it was the only time I ever played a wizard or a magic user at the time, and that was the last time I ever played magic user because it's such a pain in the ass. Your game's taken up with like, okay, I gotta find a seashell, it's such a pain in the ass.
But if in that sense, that should be easy to find.
Wow,
but
that was the first thing I saw was a seashell. There's other things that are a lot harder to find.
My point is that for the easier spell components, not worth the time and effort. But when you start using the more exotic spells and the more exotic components, possibly if you're into it, I still wouldn't use it myself.
Maybe if it's like something like
someone's out there.
A resurrection or something that was part of the quest or something, you have to find the points for the resurrection spell or whatever. But even then, resurrection spells don't need components because they're cleric spells. So,
I mean, but this could, if you needed to do something, would be a nice template.
I did just find it took up the game. It turned the game into a hide and seek or like a.
Well, for the most part, yeah. I'm not going to disagree with that. That's why I said I never use it. And even after reading this article, I probably still wouldn't use it. But there is a use for other people and a use for this. Should you?
Some people might be into micromanaging things.
Yeah. But I think as a mechanic, I think the downside is it becomes a scavenger hunt. I think the purpose of it was to balance out power.
Probably
keep people from stocking the same spells or being able to do at the higher levels wizards and stuff like that. And I didn't know that because every campaign I played in, no one used the components. So like it didn't seem like there was a power balance issue, but I don't know. It just seems like a complicated way of.
I think the only time my GM ever used the components is if it was like something weird, and then you were like 50 miles from wherever you should be, or 60 feet underground, and you've cast that spell, I don't know, numerous times. Do you have enough components to cast it again?
Yeah, I can see it as a limiter of some sort, but magic users also get crapped on low levels. By the time they're higher levels, just let them have the power. Poor guys. They made it.
They've suffered long enough.
Yeah.
I get it, but then again, the argument: do they have enough? This comes back to the coin argument we had a couple issues ago. When we did that article with the size of the coin now instead of the weight of the coin.
Yeah.
When we were talking about wheat pennies, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but and this is a magical world where you have things that can hold an infinite amount of different things.
Yeah, so, encumbrance is a pain in the ass enough, let alone worrying about the volume of things, not just the weight.
I mean, but like I said I probably wouldn't use it, but this is a nice guideline should you need to ever have something like this to make it, like you said, part of the adventure, if they need to find a very exotic spell component.
If you really want to limit your magic users, use components.
Well, magic users are third-class people anyway. So.
And already, you can only do so many a day. You have to find the spell, get the spell. Like, there's enough. I don't think it was necessary to do all of this, but I'm sure some people that was their jam. I gotta go to town again.
Yeah,
I need a sprig of this.
People are shoppers. Yeah,
I gotta go to the farmer's market.
Yeah,
I hate shopping.
Persimmon.
Any persimmons, an eye of newt, and some sage.
Sage indeed.
Sage indeed. Okay, well, Rob, you had one more. What say you?
We're going back up to those reviews by the same guy, Ralston, I believe his name was. Ken Ralston. He reviewed. It's this time we're on page 79. This time he's reviewing Ravenloft, the original adventure, not what it eventually becomes. Only 32 pages. That's another thing with these modules; they're pretty small, but
it's pretty big.
But not nowadays. It's just interesting to have somebody who doesn't know who Strahd is. Like he's such an icon now. And to read this, and it's like, oh, this is an interesting new character. It's like, new character. I love these little history things. Little did they know it was coming with the big box set and all that, and the whole setting. But he does say it's a step up in modules, like the quality of the module and the art and the isometric view of things instead of just top-down maps. They have isometric maps and stuff. And he says it's really a step up for TSR, but it's not as good as Call of Cthulhu in the horror genre because it is limited that it is a D&D campaign, and D&D in itself doesn't, like we were talking about earlier, it doesn't lend itself to be horrific because you're just used to hacking and slashing. So when a gargoyle pops up in front of you, or some kind of monster, or even a vampire, you know what's going to happen, right? You're going to fight them.
Yeah, it's a combat heavy system that relies on.
Does it say who wrote it?
Ravenloft? I don't remember.
Yeah, that's Hickman and.
Oh yeah, it's right. That's right. It's is it? No.
Tracy and Laura Hickman.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
it says at the beginning of the article.
Yeah. So it's just he says it's great AD&D adventure, but a poor Gothic horror adventure, and it's cool. I can see where they're coming from, but I think that's why they kind of do the whole setting. Eventually, that becomes. They kind of fix it with the Ravenloft setting because they do limit a lot of the things that you're used to in D&D, AD&D. Yeah. They fix a lot of the overpowering things. You bring a paladin into Ravenloft, it's just a bloodbath. So
it definitely, the potential was here. Everyone could see it, and it grows into something. You can see
why
it
grew.
Beyond.
Yeah. It's the bud. The flower shall come, but this is just the bud. It was a beautiful bud. It's just a bud. And that's my last article.
I'm tapped out.
Okay, so we're going to do some ads. And remember, everyone, one ad each. That was the rules.
You're in charge, but I think we can argue that.
You cannot. I'm in charge. Patrick, give me an ad.
31.
31.
Oh, no, that was mine too.
Oh yeah, that was good. I was just looking for this ad because I was going to bring this up.
First sighting of GW.
Well, we've had GW before as
Now
a
this is becoming its own thing. Because
distributor.
now there's mention of Warhammer and Rogue Trader. This is
Yeah.
around the time when I started playing Warhammer and Rogue Trader.
Yeah, Rogue Trader is what
Here we go.
40k becomes, right? Or
Yes.
it turns into 40k, right? Yeah. But they also have Judge Dredd, Doctor Who, Talisman, Battle Cars, and Apocalypse. Talisman, obviously, we still play it to this day.
I don't know what happened. Well, Doctor Who they lost the license to.
Yeah. Judge Dredd 2. Mongoose eventually got Judge Dredd, I know.
But all of these
Warlord's
things...
got Judge Dredd. Warlord's got Judge Dredd
now, but Mongoose had it after this, and then, now it's Warlord has it, Doctor Who, Gale Force 9 has Doctor Who. Gale Force 9 has Doctor Who.
Yes. And Talisman is still Talisman.
Still GW, yeah. Talisman's their own thing, yeah. Well, we play video game often. Not all the time, but we play it often.
Yeah, every once in a while we'll go into a...
But they also mentioned Citadel Miniatures, White Dwarf Magazine, and it's all the things we know GWB.
Mm-hmm.
And Maryland.
One of the things I did too is Maryland is Glen Burnie is where the U.S. HQ usually winds up. But here they start. I wonder if they're working out of some distribution area.
Yeah, it's just a P.O. box there, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's out of Gaithersburg, and I wonder if they get when they decide to do an HQ or a distribution point, do their own distribution because they distribute it out of Glen Burnie.
Well, I do know that pretty soon we won't be seeing much of them in Dragon Magazine because they have White Dwarf, and I think it's.
I think White Dwarf takes a turn and stops being.
Yeah, they don't play well with each other eventually.
Yeah.
So,
do you think when they got to Maryland, they had Old Bay sprinkled on them?
If they have any sense of taste, they would have. Because Old Bay is scrumptious. I have Old Bay in my cupboard right now.
It's just ground up crab claws. That's all it is.
So good.
This sea lice just smushed up into
and it's
pasty powder.
Scrumptious.
It is delicious. Okay, well then that was both Patrick and myself. So Rob, you better bring it home. Last thing.
Pat, do you have another ad?
I do have another ad.
Oh, there you go. Maybe it's this one. Page 60.
60?
60. No.
Yeah, that's my.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's just a little teeny one though. It's
good. So order is maintained.
All it says is Dragonlance is coming from TSR.
And that's what in my notes. All it says Dragonlance is going to be real.
Teaser. This is what they call a teaser. No information. We don't know what Dragonlance is. Is it a board game? We don't know.
No, the books are out already.
No,
but
no, they're not.
Yeah.
Nope. Because the next issue, I think, is when they very first short story involving Dragonlance happens.
I could have sworn we've already seen.
Nope.
Which one was it?
Nope.
Something of Autumn.
Nope. Nothing Dragonlance. This is the very first mention of Dragonlance in Dragon Magazine right here.
Okay. Well, trust you, Rob.
It's true. Because it's coming up is Dragonlance gets big. And they talk about it in one of the editorials, I believe, and they discuss what's coming with Dragonlance. So, new and exciting. That's what this is. That's what we call here, new and exciting. But that's my last ad.
New and exciting.
Okay. Well, we'll put a asterisk on that ad because Rob came with some facts that I disagree with. But
it's true.
But that does conclude this episode. We got all up in this biz. We did 81 proud.
We did.
We're going to be back next week. Well, with another.
Can I guess what number it is?
Yes.
85.
I say 86.
Close enough.
Yeah. I was closer though, wasn't I?
Well, if you knew that you would be close enough, you must have known what number it is.
No, I was guessing that I was closer.
That I just now think maybe you were being facetious. You've hurt my feelings.
It's my middle name
has been broken, and that's my fault for putting my belief in you. So that's all from us at the Dragon's Tome. I'd like to bid you all adieu. See you next week.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Less lies and less obfuscation, and
I believe Pat's the host. We know that's going to be all lies. So
Less deception.
Oh my god.
It's
That's
just
going to be the host.
yeah.
And hilarity will ensue.
Jack, maybe we
Yes.
call in sick.
That's fine. I'm on one man ship, baby.
He's got the charisma. He's got the riz to pull it off.
Look at that
Star
hair.
power,
Look at that hair.
Look at that drip he's got.
Look at
Come
look at
on.
Not even a bald spot.
No cap. Hey, I'm sitting right here.
He's so mean.
I got my summer hair going. That felt so nice. It's 20 days too early to be planting plants, but I already got some plants in the ground. I cut off all my hair.
Farmer Jack.
It was 70 something of your American degrees out today.
It was 76 today.
Nice for a Canadian boy. That's getting right toasty.
I had to work.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, anyways.
As we go off on another tangent.
Yeah, we can't do that. So, from the Dragon's Tome, bye-bye.
Good night, folks.
Adios, mi amigos.
Arriba!